Hi everybody, and welcome to Traveling with Russell, and welcome to a very snowy Moscow and a very interesting video that I'm remaking or revisiting. Might look familiar, but let's go. Just to give you a bit of context before we go for a walk around, this building, or at least the colors of this building, might look familiar to many people. This was IKEA. And this particular shopping center that we're going to go for a walk around is rather well known in Russia. The actual chain is called Mega, and it really sort of fits the name because it's a very large shopping center. However, have a look at how few cars are in this car park. Now, I've done this video as a retake on a video that I did that is pretty much the most popular video on the channel, and this would be the IKEA car park. And I can quite literally walk around anywhere, and it's now been closed for right about 3 years, and the colors of the building are still there. Interestingly, the flag for Mega is still flying. Now, there would have been the IKEA flag on the pole next to it, but it's not there anymore. And they actually had 14 of these shopping centers in Russia. They're all still open, they're all still operating. However, it's had a ownership change twice in the last year and a half. So it was actually owned by IKEA, the Swedish company that owned the chain and all of the things associated with the IKEA chain of stores. And they then sold these shopping centers. The IKEA's closed, and they sold the shopping centers to one company, and now recently, as of about 2 months ago, to another company. And the reason I want to come back here is because this is a very typical Russian shopping center. It's probably very typical to a lot of people around the world who have these single level, large format shopping malls. And I think it's rather interesting just to do a revisit and see what has happened in the last 2 years or 3 years since I first came here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to eventually just walk in the front door, and we're going to go for a walk around. And I think for many people this might be interesting because I had so many comments on that original video. Oh, come back in 1 year, come back in 2 years, or come back in 3 years. And we want to see it boarded up and closed, and we want to see what happens to the Russian economy. So here I am. So I will say it is a little bit cold today, and that's not an excuse to stay home. The real field temperature is -14 Celsius. I don't know what that is for other countries, but it's kind of cold for Moscow. It's probably not cold for the Far East. But I'm going to go for a walk inside and warm up, because they've always got heating in the shopping centers in Russia. And I think this is going to be interesting for me. I used to come to this shopping center a couple of times a month when I first moved to Russia. And particularly we would come for IKEA, the shopping center, and then in the distance there is a French hypermarket called Auchan, and we used to come and almost spend the day here visiting all the different places. And I think it'll be just interesting to come back and have a look and see how busy it is. Firstly, let's talk about IKEA. Of course, this is a very iconic brand, and the colors of the building are very iconic. This was the original entrance, and nothing has changed with the building itself. Everything is completely as it is. It is currently leased as a distribution center for online shopping. So kind of similar to what Amazon would do and have a fulfillment center. This one is actually from Yandex, which is the largest kind of chain or company in Russia. They have a lot of businesses. And this is a delivery point. You can't come here physically. However, the drivers and the couriers can come here. If you can imagine how big the IKEA was inside, absolutely perfect for that. And now, of course, it's paneled over the glass windows, just so you can't see inside. I did walk down to the old exit over there where you'd come out through the cafe, and actually the cafe is all shrink wrapped, so it's still all there and it could magically come back. The one interesting thing with Mega, or this particular one, is they were building an extension in the car park. You can probably see this very long looking building, and this was meant to be an add-on to the shopping center, and it's completely finished. It's also got parking underneath as well. However, nobody's ever moved into it because of the fear that people would stop coming to the shopping center. The one thing I will say also, where this is located is not near any housing or apartments, or it's not within walking distance of anything. You have to come here by car, and the odd person will come by bus, which you'll see going right by just there. And actually that's how I came here. There is no metro station nearby, so you are limited to how you can get here if you don't have a vehicle. So this is very much a traditional shopping center in the fact that it's a drive-up one that we know so well. Now, we'll say most people come in through the back entrance of the shopping center. There is another entrance on the upstairs level at the far side of the shopping center. But back when IKEA was open, this was the busiest entrance by a long way. Everybody would come in through the shopping center to IKEA, or come in through the entrance, which would have been right there. These panels would have been the displays with all of the furniture. There is actually underground parking also here. Now, I remember back in the day when we couldn't even find a car parking space. It was so full that you would drive around and around and you couldn't find anywhere to park. And now it's empty. This entrance here used to be individual shops. There used to be a pharmacy here, and there was a clothing store. There was a couple of different ones, and what they've done is they've combined them together and built a bedding shop called Askona. And this is actually owned by a rather wealthy Russian gentleman who started out manufacturing bedding and mattresses, and he's done rather well for himself. And interestingly, the Askona stores are in a lot of the shopping centers. So in Russia, it's quite popular to have furniture shops in shopping centers just like this, and have a cluster of shops where you could come and buy furniture. If IKEA was here, this place would be doing very well, because there'd be a natural overlap from people coming from one business to the other. But now it's not here. They can't. So it is a one-level shopping center, which is very much, I'm going to say, American style. In Russia, generally they're multi-level, 2, 3, or 4 stories. So this is one level, which I'm going to say is typical, maybe not so typical. So what I want to do is just walk around a few of these different laneways, alleyways, and try to reminisce a little about what was here. Now, there was quite a big deal made of this business on the left. And this, I think, was a Turkish furniture company. It's actually opened and closed. Really, when there isn't that shopper coming for that general household product, it kind of flows on that nobody is coming anymore for IKEA, so they're not coming for the bed shop. They're not going to come for this Kellybeck brand. So they've run and done. Now, if you can possibly make out the colors, or at least the shape of this store right here, this was the Levi's jean store. And I think it was a pet shop the last time it was open. And now it's also closed. So what's happened, I don't know. So this cluster of household items continues here. So there is a Hire shop, which is a brand of appliances, so things like fridges, washing machines. Now what I will point out though is most people in Russia will go to a shop that you see here on the left called Video. And this is a kind of full line store with household goods, small appliances, and I think they've actually extended it. Is this bigger than normal? I need to maybe have a look. I'm quite literally walking in and filming without coming in here ahead of time. And it's just interesting to see how it feels, having not walked in here for probably more than a year or longer. Samsung has a standalone shop, so you can buy all of the latest Samsung products. Yamaguchi is the store where you buy these massage chairs. I don't know how they stay in business, but they are. Korting, I don't know this brand. And they also have small appliances. I mean, it really makes sense to be across from Video, so you can shop around. And I have done videos in this chain of stores before, hugely popular in Russia, and they will always be popular. Huawei, so this is one of the, I believe, Chinese phone brands. They've got their own standalone shop. Let's talk about Apple. So interesting, you can see everything but really the Apple signage. It is there, but they're a premium reseller. iPhone 17 Pro, they have it right there in the shop. And they have slowly over the last few years kind of expanded the shop a little beyond Apple products. So of course the laptops and iPads, and then you've got all of the accessories in the back there. But the iPhone 17 Pro we can absolutely buy here in Russia, no problems at all. And then across the way we have Candy, and this is also a appliance brand. I think the only way I remember this or know it is because of the sponsorship they had. I think it was with Liverpool Football Club, and they've got the same classic fridges and washing machines. And again, the largest appliance retailer in Russia is next door. And if you'd like to see a full walk around of this store, let me know and I can come back. I don't have a plan of filming 4 or 5 videos today because I wanted to come here solely just to get the feeling and an ambience of what it's like. They do have pretty much every major brand of phones, small appliances, anything for your house. Samsung has its build right in the front. And then interestingly, they used to have an Apple display, but have a look at what they do now. They just have the word Apple on a cabinet, and they've got all of the products not open and not on display. So they've just got the boxes and the price tags, and that's it. And actually the same goes for Samsung. However, they've now got their build outs and these floor merchandisers. This has to have been expanded. Maybe they've cut into the back of the IKEA location. This shop looks huge now. Walking on a little bit further, the actual shopping center itself has always been laid out in groups of shops. And that's very normal in most Russian shopping centers, where you've got a men's section, ladies section, kids section, and they try to group the types of shops together. Now this stadion, or stadium, this was actually a Russian clothing store or athletic clothing store. Athleisure, I think that's the right word. This is opened and closed as well. Now, part of the reason is because there is some very well established shops that were always in Russia, and they were what I call multi-brand stores. So this is Sportmaster, and this is the Pro version as well, which means it's the larger expanded version. And this is a sports store. It also has sports equipment, gym equipment, and pretty much anything you can dream of in terms of sportswear. Now, being that it's seasonal, things at the front here like winter shoes, jackets, skiing equipment is very much the normal thing. This shop looks huge. Now, they did have a store here, but I think they've moved it since I've been here last. And it goes right into the very back. And this is huge. And there isn't a brand you cannot buy in here, whether or not it's here in Russia or left. They do have a large amount of their own private label. This is called D-Mix. However, if you want the branded things, Salomon, it's a well-known hiking shoe. You've got all of the different brands. You can see here Fila, Puma, Reebok, Nike, Adidas. So this is another store that's, I think, got bigger, not smaller over time. Just have a look how far the shop goes back into the corner over there. I think these stores that open and close are a good example of, you know, the big brands eat into the small brands of business, and people sort of think that they can come along and open a chain of stores and it be successful because it's next to another sporting goods store, for instance, and it just doesn't work. Now, there is quite a few brands here that might be interesting in the wording that they have. This one is called Move, and this is Helly Hansen. So you can see all of the clothing, shoes, and everything like that. Now, a lot of the shops have sales on because it's now the new year, so it's appropriate that they give us some specials after Christmas. The Loft Original. Now, I don't know all the stores, and I'm trying to almost remember what was in these locations before. Bootwood, if you're needing Timberland. This has been actually open, or it reopened or changed the name a long time ago. Also, there's some other brands there, Lee Cooper, Camper, which people might know around the world. US Polo Association. Is this a thing in America, or is it just here in Europe? I'm not sure. This is a barber shop. And then they have another sports store. Now I was told, or I'm led to believe, this is one of the most popular brands in China. So if anybody knows it outside of China, let me know. They do have these in pretty much all of the bigger shopping centers in Moscow. This is actually one of their smaller stores. But if you know this chain, it will be interesting if it's anywhere except Moscow and China, because until it opened here, I'd never heard of it. So, rather interesting. Cinnabon. So this is actually the start now of the very large food court. Cinnabon, I think everybody knows around the world rather well. And then, I don't remember the chocolate brand that used to be here. Oh, the sign is still up there, or it kind of is up there. This was it the Lindt chocolate shop? And they've never found anybody to rent the space since. I will say probably the rent is probably high in here, but it discourages a lot of companies from opening or trying to open. This meat and fish restaurant has been here forever. My wife and I have eaten here many times. This place has never closed or ever not been here. So where we were outside, the entrance would be just off in the distance on the other side of the Christmas tree there. And then most people now, or still do, arrive in through the back entrance. Mostly because it's easier to get into the shopping center from the highway there. And then also the underground parking. I will talk about this Hoff chain in just a minute. And most people are coming from the lower level, from the parking garage, straight into the shopping center this way. Walking around the food court, it's rather interesting because of the size of the shopping center. Your tables and chairs in the middle here seem so far away from the cafes. So there is a few dine-in restaurants where you can get table service. And then there's the traditional fast food or takeaway restaurants. And I'm going to say, having lived and worked in America for a lot of years, this is the closest thing I think that feels like you're in an American shopping center. Even if I compare it to others in Moscow that are multi-level that I don't really feel like they are, this place is probably the closest to that style and that kind of feeling where you're coming, you know, to do a bit of shopping, come for lunch, just go for a walk around. Now, interestingly, nothing much has changed here. So what's very strange is they've got an upstairs level with some of the restaurants and then this downstairs level. And the classic Russian locations are here, so Teremok, Krochka Katochka. This is the chicken place, Gagova. I'm not really sure. I've never actually eaten there. Now, the one place I am happy to see is Franklin Burgers. And this used to be, I think it was either Domino's Pizza or one of the American pizza chains, which never did very well. But I think this is far better of a choice to put in this shopping center. And then right next door, I will be visiting you a little bit later. Right next door we have what used to be Starbucks, and now it's called Stars Coffee. And nothing has really changed with the way it looks and the way it feels and the way they're trading. The actual chain was acquired by a very wealthy Russian businessman, and he essentially got or acquired 100 coffee shops throughout Russia, and all he had to do was change that sign and change the beans that are in the coffee. Now the menu looks very similar and everything they're doing looks awfully similar. What's really interesting is they've got their own coffee pods. Almost it's replicated. That's interesting. And actually this particular chain, or the owner of this, also owns a lot of restaurants in Russia and a lot of other brands of restaurants. So he was very able to just simply reopen it and do a few minor changes and keep trading. Back when they did reopen, I was actually at the first location, which opened in the center of Moscow in New Arbat Street. And I remember being there when there was a line down the street. There was a lot of hype around it and a lot of social media. And I felt it was appropriate that I go there. Now, in a lot of the Western news, it was said that Russia stole Starbucks. And that's not the case. The owner of the franchise in Russia was based in the Middle East, and he sold all of the locations as a business and gave the keys over to the new owner. And there was a few stipulations, and one of them, or the only one primarily, was to change the beans that they're serving in the restaurants or in the coffee shops. Otherwise, he purchased 100 ready-made coffee shops, and that simple changeover of name really has no bearing really over what's happened now, and it has a bit of a deeper meaning. Stars Coffee and the chain, because he also owned, or still does own, Stars Burgers, which really isn't spoken about in any news. So they're still here. They're just not what they were. Are people worried or bothered? I don't think so. Really is quite a nice view from here, looking across the shopping center, all of the decorations for New Year and the tree. So upstairs here, it's almost the American cluster of restaurants. So this, of course, is Burger King, and this has never changed in the last 2 years or 3 years. It is absolutely exactly the same. The only difference physically is the fact that they don't serve Pepsi here now. It's now Eves, which is actually Pepsi with a different logo on, and it's from the same Pepsi factory. But I believe, or I think, that Burger King vowed not to leave Russia, and nothing has changed whatsoever. Now, the other two places might look familiar or may not, depending on how many of my videos you watch. So on the left is the original KFC, and it's now called Rustics. And this is absolutely unchanged. All they had to do to reopen was change the name of 2 physical products, and that was it. Otherwise, everything is absolutely exactly as it is. The actual menu's improved, it's got better, they've got more things, and people still like Rustics. And then over here is what used to be McDonald's, or now it's called Kuzny i Tochka, or Tasty, and that is all. However you want to word it. If you want to become the store manager, very big salary for the store manager. And there was, of course, quite a few different things that happened at the time when they changed over. A lot of the names of the burgers had to change, the branding, the logos, but everything is exactly how it was. And they've got all the same systems for doing your shopping and purchasing and all the different choices. The only difference is a Big Mac is now called a Big Hit. However, it is unchanged. The actual difference ultimately is really down to the drink. So instead of Coca-Cola, we have Dobra Cola, or Kind Cola. And that's it. It's from the same factory as where Coca-Cola was produced. They've got a go-kart track up here, They have these in all the shopping centers. I don't know how they possibly make money, because they're very rarely having kids on them. We're all just coming up here for something to eat and then keep on shopping. From where I started the video outside, this is the middle entrance. And I just want to take you for a walk down a couple of these other laneways, or what do they call them? Alleyways? Where the other shops are, just so you can get a full feeling of this shopping center. Because the way it's laid out is they want you to kind of do a loop around the whole place. Now, one thing that's rather interesting is there isn't customer service here anymore. They have a robot, and he must be sleeping at the moment. But customer service is replaced by a robot. Very interesting. Lacoste. This is a restaurant chain. Very nice food as well. And then this actually leads down to where the original IKEA was. L'Occitane is here. Just the spelling of the name is changed. So they're definitely open and trading. The one thing that's really interesting as I walk around now, most people are going to say the shopping center is empty, there's no shoppers. And I completely agree with you, 120%. However, in Moscow, there is about 50 different large format shopping malls across all of Moscow. And people will generally shop closer to where they live. They won't drive across Moscow unless it's a really good reason to come over here. For instance, when IKEA was here, Auchan, and then the food court. But if there isn't that reason to come, why would you make that drive across Moscow when you can perhaps just get in a metro and go to another large shopping center, particularly ones that are connected with good public transport? In Avia Park, it's probably a good example of that, where the metro is right there at the entrance of the mall. You can get there from anywhere in Moscow very easily. And you know, this shopping center is a little more difficult to get here by public transport, because you've got to find buses from where the metro station ends. And even for me to come here, it's not simple. It used to be, but there's not a reason for me to come here anymore. Auchan, the supermarket, is at other shopping centers as well. And I don't need to come over here, really. And even my wife isn't inspired to come over. This is one of the ATM machines. This is Sberbank, which is, I think, the largest bank in Russia. They've got these new modern format ATM machines where they do face recognition and fingerprint detection. It's more like some kind of robot than a machine that gives you money. We will eventually get to the area where they have a movie theater and a kids zone. But the clothing stores continue. Echo. I was asked multiple times about this store and what's happened to it, and it's definitely here. The sign's definitely on the outside of the store, and the shoes are for sale. A few different jewelry stores. I've got a few in a row. Now, I don't remember what the renaming of these stores were, so there was the Zara branded stores. ECRU. If anyone remembers which one was which, it would be helpful. I think they're all close by, though. Now, currently, I'm here on a Thursday afternoon, and this is a few days into New Year, and we just celebrated the Orthodox or Russian Christmas a few days ago as well. And generally most Russians now are on a 10-day holiday that started before New Year and then goes on till the 10th or 12th of January. So quite a lot of people are not at work, and when they don't go to work, they generally stay home. This is one of the multi-brand shoe stores. So again, you can walk in and find all of the brands. Adidas, Puma, and you've got even Guess, Vans, Reebok. These are very common around the world. This is not unique to Russia, the way they set up these types of stores. Need a woolly hat. And then some more of the Russian branded shops. Here's a men's clothing store, Henderson, with free Wi-Fi. How many people need a free Wi-Fi now when they come to the shopping centers? Really very quiet. The men who are on holiday for New Year don't want to come to shopping centers. They want to stay home, watch some TV or have a barbecue, and that's it. This is one of the multi-brand perfume shops. I think it's Il Debut. But you've got all of the well-known international brands you can see there. Dior has front and center. Clarins, Guerlain. Now this one is not as busy because there's another chain. I'm not sure if they've got a location here, which would be much busier. Lots of people just chilling out. What you'll find people do is when they come to shopping centers, they tend to stay for quite a lot longer than just shopping. So come for something to eat, just relax, and particularly while it's colder weather, it's a good excuse to come. Cellar. I think this is a Russian chain as well. And then we come down to this intersection. It does feel very American, and I'm going to repeat it. I mean, these mega shopping centers have been here for a lot of years in Russia, and you can see that influence that IKEA had when they opened these. And I mean, they owned the shopping center, they owned the furniture store, and it kind of made sense to kind of build it this, you know, very big format style of shopping mall. And there is people here. The thing is with Russian shopping centers, they're built so big that you don't feel that busyness because everybody spreads out so much. I think, was this one of the jewelry stores? Maybe Swarovski or Pandora. Well, let's keep walking. This is really interesting. So Dyson closed all of their locations and then they reopened them under Dye Shop, and now they're back as Dyson again. And you've got the vacuums and the hair accessories right here. Now you can go into that video and buy the same things as what you see. I think perhaps whoever's operating them now seem to have expanded a little, because you've got the Dyson brand and you've got Apple phones there as well, which is a little bit confusing. I always buy my hairdryer and my phone at the same place, but Dyson is definitely here. Back in the middle of the shopping center now. When I actually arrived, I came in through this far entrance where the cinema complex is. And this is still open and still trading. Over here on the right is Stockman. Now this used to be in another location, then it moved over here. I think at some point there was another one of the brands here. And this is now what would be a multi-brand department store. And they've got all of the Western brands more than available. What you'll tend to find though is there's less branding when you go in the stores. So they've got the things available, they just don't tell you directly. So you'll see here just off to the side, Boss, Guess, Hugo, and actually in the entrance there is the Hugo section. But there's not that kind of large branding, and it's almost kind of this black and white look to the store. And you know, you can still walk in and buy them. And how they get here is really the question that seems to be always asked or always gets answered in the comments. This shop right here, which is called Stockman's, I was trying to remember for the longest time what was here, and this was H&M Home. And actually the shop looks exactly the same inside. And the companies that took over the locations got ready-made shops with all of the fixtures and furniture. And this was the two-level H&M store when it was here. You can actually see the escalators going to the upper level. I've never been in this shop ever. I've always ever just walked by it. And even now that it's Stockman's, I haven't been inside. So all of the locations are filled out, just with slightly different names. The brands that we know very well are on the wall. It is very palatial, very grand. And the way they put these huge glass roofs on these shopping centers just gives you that size and that kind of feeling that you're in a big shopping center. And the word mega just suits it so well. Let's talk about Hoff for a minute. Now, this is a chain of furniture stores very similar to IKEA. Not exactly the same. Now, this is a Russian brand that's been around long before IKEA came to Russia. And they were never at this shopping center. And I think everybody thought that Hoff would acquire the location where IKEA was because it would be a perfect fit for them to open in that location. Absolutely everything would just slot right in there. But they've opened in this ground floor. Now originally the Sportmaster was down here, and then they've obviously now moved up to the street level shop. And I haven't been in here or been for a walk around. I'm just going to briefly just walk in the entrance, in and out. And it has that IKEA feel to it. Now, I think every Russian knows Hoff very, very well. It's got very similar functions to what IKEA has. And I think for this shopping center, it's more than suited where people want to come and do shopping and furniture shopping and all sorts of things. Now, they do kind of have this walk around format where you follow the arrows like IKEA had, but it's a little bit broken up as you walk around. So right at the entrance here, you see already the kitchen section, but they do have the different room formats where they've got apartment designs and the layouts of an apartment. And then as you walk around the actual shop itself, you can do the designing of kitchens, bathrooms, and whatever you want to do. And I think most people coming here are probably happy to see Hoff, particularly the ladies. The men, not so much, because they know their wallet is going to get damaged and hurt, because every lady wants new stuff for the kitchen, new kitchen and things like this. Don't these look like the IKEA plate sets in that same box? And this format of shop is just so suited to this shopping center, and I'm so glad it's opened. I think so far, walking around, there's definitely more people in here than there was 1 year ago, 2 years ago, when I made my original video. The whole Sanctions, I think this is the first time I'm mentioning it in the entire video. And now 1,000 days later from when some major events happened very close to where I am, or 1,400 days if you want to do the exact math on when places changed, or particularly this shopping center. When I did do that initial video, it was empty because all the shops are closed, and I think a lot of the retailers would have been very worried about what was going to happen. And you can see it's almost sprung back into life. I think by adding the Hoff, I think that was a great move, because it's a sort of place where you come and spend a fair while walking around, you know, deciding on things, and then to go and have something to eat and then keep shopping. I think it's a great idea. Or, you know, as someone who worked in retail, I think it was a good move by the management of this shopping center now. I found Swarovski. The actual place where I was showing you earlier was the same kind of corner, but the other part of the shopping center. Each of these alleyways I kind of replicated in the format and layout of the stores. Now, if I remember rightly, this was Uniqlo here. Now it's Snow Queen. It's a jacket shop. That's what it is, particularly winter jackets. I don't know what they do in summer. And at one point my wife has bought a jacket from this brand at our local shopping center. And then, if I can remember, so Mag was Zara, and the actual look of the shop hasn't changed at all, apart from that one word right there. And then somewhere here was the Chanel store, and then I can't remember what this one was. Now, Slava Concept. Was this H&M? No? Anybody remembers? If anyone lives in Moscow and remembers the format, that would be really good. So you will find in here that there's pockets of the mall that's empty and quiet, and there's areas where it's busy. And you know, when it was open years ago when we used to come, it was the same way that everybody came for IKEA, everybody came for Auchan, movie theaters and restaurants, and then all the shops in between kind of caught the business from that. One of the shoe stores. And we come around to this kids wing of the shopping center. Now what I'll do is I'll walk around to the right. So all these shops here, or eventually they will be, all children themed. And even the brands of the stores that had large format shops have just the kids version as well. Osh, kosh, by gosh. So they have children-only shops. And there is quite a few of them. Now, the main one that I want to talk about is just down the hall here. There is a couple of shops closed. I mean, I wouldn't say it really affects the whole shopping center. I mean, every shopping center has places that open, close, and that's nothing new. And you come to this large area right here. So there's two main stores that they've got. One is Children's World, or Детский мир. Now, somebody asked me in a recent video when I went to the Dixie store in Moscow. Okay, let's try that again. So, when I did the walk around of the Dixie shop in New Arbat Street, on the upstairs level, they had a Children's World store. And originally it was both floors, then they decided to lease the downstairs to the supermarket. And this is a department store just with children's items. So downstairs is all the toys, upstairs is all of the clothes. You can also buy food products in here. And they're huge stores. And I think this might be their largest one in Russia, or in Moscow at least. It's just massive. And it's a shop solely dedicated to kids. So all of the brands, all of the clothing, as much as they can do to attract kids and families. Let me just show you something here. So we know the traditional prams over on this side, well, at least a few of them anyway, the normal looking prams. And then these are the famous Russian prams, where there is nothing comfortable about them. The kids are so bundled up they don't feel anything, but they've got the wheels on them, and then you can drop the wheels down, and then you've got the sleds. So particularly now while it's snowy outside, these are very popular, and parents generally have them for life, and then as the kids grow up, they get handed down, and the next child has it, or a family member will have one. Really interesting. So there's a big play area here as well. And then this other store, now if you're British, it might make sense, as the kids are all having fun. So this was Mother Care, and it's called Mother Bear. And these shops are always very quiet. Now I think because most people know the Children's World, and they never really associated with Mother Care, these shops probably struggle. And how they stay trading, I don't know. They always look very quiet. However, if you're from England, maybe you can reminisce a little. So all the kids here, well, actually the main slide is closed for remodeling, or for, so all the kids are over here on the other play area. So they're all on the little slide and what have you. And have a look what they do. They all take their shoes off, and they all put them just here. And there's no worries with just leaving your shoes on the side and coming back for them later. No one's going to take them, touch them. Kids are completely happy, and parents get to relax for a little while. So I really hope this walk around has given you a little bit of an insight into a Russian typical shopping center. Now it's very easy just to go to Avia Park, which is the largest one in Russia, and show you all the people and how busy it is, and how, you know, all the shops are thriving. But to come out to one of the suburban shopping centers, and the fact that this one isn't very well connected to public transport, it does make a difference, and it will be affected by the amount of people that would come here, primarily because people have got to come here by car. And where a lot of people in Moscow don't have vehicles, you know, they'll choose to go to another shopping center because it's just easier to get there. And I'm the same way. I'd rather just jump on the metro, walk out of the station, and then walk in a shopping center. And my wife and I don't have a car, so we don't always want to go to somewhere like this place because it's just more challenging to get here. And then once you do shopping, it's harder to carry it all home with you. So you limit yourself how much you want. This is one of the phone providers. This is actually the provider I have for my phone. So you can buy the phones in here and then the plans. And then we come down to Auchan. And this is a French-owned hypermarket. This is not Russian-owned. It's owned by the French. In my Globus videos, that's owned by the Germans. And this is a very classic Russian typical, American typical large format supermarket. Now they call them hypermarkets because that's really what they are. I would say this would be about twice the size of a Walmart. If you're from America, probably 2 or 3 times the size of an Asda. They have a little mini cafe here with some snacks for takeaway. If you just want to eat it, there's some tables right there. Now I will say Auchan is probably not as well known, probably comparing it to Globus. Now, going back 10 years ago, these stores were much busier. They were also famously much cheaper than other close-to-home supermarkets. And, you know, you could come here and buy everything. You still can. I mean, things are still cheap. They do all of their own baking in the back right here. And just the sheer size of these places. This fresh bread smells really good. And the whole thing that I'm trying to get across was when IKEA was here. You know, you could do a few hours in there. Then you'd go over to the shopping center, maybe go to a few shops or to the food court. And then you'd finish up shopping here in Auchan. And then your car would be full to go home because you'd fill your basket and, you know, you'd have a full day here. You'd come in the morning or afternoon and you'd be leaving and it'd be dark outside because of how long that you spend coming here. You just see how big it is. It is big and it feels very big. This could be their largest location, quite possibly in Moscow. There is a couple of them that are 2-level ones, but this is all over 1 floor. So you just keep walking and walking. So half of it is food, and then the far end of it is all of the non-food products. So if you want things for your house, kitchen, bathroom, whatever you like, it's in here as well. Yeah, there isn't anything you cannot get in here. Now, I will say, depending on the store you go to, they have improved and they've tried to make these shops look nicer. But there's not a lot you can really do with this format, just because of the way it's just warehouse style with just very bright lights. I think they're trying harder to claw back the customer who shops at their local store, just like I do. I mean, I'm not going to save any money on a can of peas that's 89 rubles here than it is in the shop in my building where it's 89 rubles. And do I want to go across Moscow to do that? I mean, the answer for me is no. This is their temporary section here, or their seasonal area. So it's interesting what they've got set up now because of New Year and people buying gifts, you know, in December and January. Still lots of things available and out, mostly all gift style products. So things like the tins and these different boxes where you can give them as presents. Very nice chocolates and all the brands. So yeah, I have done a walk around of this store before. I could probably do one again if anyone wants me to follow it up and do some more supermarket videos. My Alpine Gold, I've gone off it a little bit. This was always my favorite chocolate. I mean, huge store. Just the amount of products and space and the size of it. The alcohol section in itself is huge. As I come to the end of the video and I try to find my way out of here, I'm going to go out a different exit to where I entered. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Now, I could have been very negative and very gloomy and said, you know, the shopping center is empty, all the stores are closed. I could have filmed it in a way that it didn't show anybody in any of the shops. It's very easy just to wait for people to walk by and then keep filming. You know, I've been to this shopping mall hundreds of times. It was our almost weekly or at least monthly shopping center for a long time when IKEA was here, and we'd make a day of it, come on a Saturday or a Sunday and do our shopping. And since IKEA left, we've not been back. I know my wife has not been back here. I mean, when you've got big shopping centers where you live, where I've showed the Globus video recently, that is far closer to my house. This is in the same region, but without a car, it's not as easy to get here. So we based a lot on that. So thanks for watching. I hope it's a little bit of a behind the curtain of a Russian typical shopping center and what it looks like on a average day. And this is holidays right now in Russia, so you should see more people here. And I think the best thing about this shopping center now is the Hoff that opened. I know my wife likes that store, and we always end up buying things for the kitchen and for the house, and I think it's a good move, whoever signed that contract. So thanks. Thumbs up for the video and post a comment. How does this compare to your local shopping center? Now you have to remember, there's 50 more of these large shopping centers in Moscow. There's about 200 shopping centers generally in Moscow and Moscow region. So this doesn't have to be the only one that you come to. And I think even people that come here, you know, who come by car, could drive to another shopping center very easily. That might be far more convenient than coming out here. And I think that's a big factor why this place just doesn't have its mojo back or what it used to be before 2 or 3 years ago. But they're doing their best. And whoever is now the new owners, they've got to figure out a way to keep this place running and keep the lights on. I mean, it hasn't closed. It hasn't closed down. They've even found a tenant for the IKEA location. I mean, how many companies could really go into that spot? It's interesting. If you want to follow me on my social media, the link is right here. And then if you want to watch an old video on the channel, click this link and you can keep traveling with Russell. Okay, everybody, I'm off on another adventure. Bye.